There's something about a train. It's not just transportation, it's a time machine. You step aboard in Kalamazoo, a city that's been sending passengers down the rails since the steam age. And then you roll on the tracks that's carried presidents, immigrants, and dreamers for generations. This line is where the Wolverine runs, part of Amtrak's Detroit to Chicago route. It once belonged to the Michigan Central Railroad, a titan of Midwest 1900s rail travel. Henry Ford once rode this line. It's one of the busiest corridors in the Midwest, a place where Amtrak runs at 110 miles an hour between here, Kalamazoo, to Porter, Indiana.
Our journey today ends in Chicago's Union Station, a temple of steel and stone, where the ghosts of a million departures still whisper in the halls. So this isn't just a train ride, it's a glimpse into something bigger, a connection to the past.
In Chicago, we're going to stay at the Drake, a traveler's destination for over a century.
Pouring rain.
Last time we took this line was 20 years ago with our kids. Back then it was hours late and kind of painful. We're here to see what the adventure's like now. I'm Chuck.
I'm Poppins.
The channel's Restless Viking. Let's go on a train adventure.
Skipping up the row 7. I don't know if they'll stick. By the late 1960s, passenger trains were becoming a relic.
The great train stations were emptying out, their halls becoming echoes of a time when travel meant something more than security checkpoints and smartphone boarding passes.
The big railroad companies, well, they didn't want anything to do with this. Passengers to them were a loss, a burden. They were ripping up tracks, killing off routes, abandoning stations, and scrapping the sleeping cars and dining cars.
And then in 1971, something unexpected happened. Amtrak was born. It was a government Hail Mary, a last-ditch effort to keep some sort of rail passenger service alive for the nostalgia of the generations. And nobody thought it would last. They'd give it a few years, a decade at most. What they didn't expect is that their plan to quietly allow passenger rail service in the United States to die didn't happen.
So Amtrak, much like the country it serves, was stubborn as hell.
And at first it was a mess. Amtrak didn't own any tracks, and the 366 trains were narrowed down to 184. There was a hodgepodge of aging, decrepit sleeper cars and passenger cars from 20 different railroads. The food was terrible, the schedules were a joke, and people thought, well, why take a train when you can just take a plane or even drive? And yet here we are, last year 32 million passengers, up from 15 million passengers in 1971.
Trains like the California Zephyr, the Empire Builder, the Southwest Chief became something else entirely, a way to see the country in a way no highway could offer, a reminder that the journey itself still matters. For decades, politicians have treated Amtrak like an unwanted stepchild, barely funding it, threatening to cut routes. But Amtrak didn't fail, it adapted. It fought for better funding, it bought new train sets, rebuilt beautiful stations, and made high-speed upgrades. The next generation of Acela trains will hit 160 miles an hour. They're fixing infrastructure that dates back to the Teddy Roosevelt era, and so, against all odds, the trains keep rolling. Today, this train route, the Wolverine, isn't just a train. It's a living timeline of America's industrial rise, decline, and resilience. Riding the Wolverine is tracing the steel veins of America's industrial heartland, following a route that's been linking two powerhouse cities for over 180 years. It all started in the early 1800s when Michigan was a rough frontier, barely connected to the growing economy of the United States. By 1837, steam locomotives were already carving their way through the wilderness, linking Detroit to the booming city of Chicago. This wasn't just about moving passengers, it was about connecting industries, fueling factories, and laying the groundwork for what would become the heart of America's manufacturing empire. And by the early 1900s, the Michigan Central Railroad had transformed the route into a symbol of speed and luxury for passengers. Trains like the Mercury and the Twilight Limited raced across Michigan's flatlands, promising fine dining and smooth rides to Chicago. But the golden age of rail hit the skids in the mid-20th century. By the 1960s, cars, planes, and highways were king. Passenger rail, an afterthought. Rail companies didn't want to move passengers anymore. It was costly. It was in the way of profits, and it wasn't going to get any better. Then Congress threw a Hail Mary pass to Amtrak as a way to help it die with a little less pain. But here's the thing. Against all odds, this line grew. And it did it without much fanfare. Most people don't know that the trains from Kalamazoo to Indiana hit speeds of 110 miles an hour. And that the train could often get you from Kalamazoo to Chicago as fast as driving, even faster than flying when you include airport chaos and wait times. And trains offer a little more comfort and more legroom. And the stations from Detroit to Niles, Michigan have been brought back to their former glory. Just like the cities it connects, the Wolverine keeps rolling forward despite the setbacks.
Now we've made it to the Windy City, Chicago.
And then you step off the train, shoes hitting the worn yellow tactile strips along the platform. The air is thick with diesel, steel, and the ghosts of 1,000 journeys. The great iron arteries of the Midwest all seem to bleed into this one place, Chicago's Union Station. It's the last of its kind. It's a monument to an era when rail was king. Climbing the stairs from the platform, the space usually opens up into a low-ceilinged concourse buzzing with travelers. But today it's being renovated. Commuters clutching paper coffee cups, dragging roller bags, lost in the indifferent rhythm of the morning rush. 125,000 people still pass through here daily, though once upon a time it was 500,000. This is the practical heart of the station, but it's not the soul. That's a little further, past the commuter ticket counters where you turn and enter the Great Hall. And suddenly, you're not in the 21st century anymore.
This place was built when the city of Chicago seemed unstoppable, when the Roaring Twenties demanded grandeur. They didn't cut corners. This is a 219-foot barrel-vaulted ceiling. There are 14 Corinthian columns surrounding this area. The ceiling is 110 feet, 10 stories high, and during World War II, they blacked out that ceiling. And here they have 2 statues night and day because this place is open 24 hours a day.
The old station, one of the first built in America, was outdated, run down. So they built this $75 million grand masterpiece designed by Daniel Burnham's successor firm, Graham Anderson, Prost & White. And at its peak, it was a symphony of movement with 300 trains a day, 10,000 pounds of mail, soldiers departing for war, businessmen riding on trains with presidents and tycoons. And then you can walk to the grand staircase, the one that's in The Untouchables, where Elliot Ness stared down Al Capone's men. But in reality, gangsters moved through here quietly. Just another piece of the rhythm of the city. And today it's quieter and emptier than it should be. But if you listen closely, above the sound of the music, you can still hear the spirits of time when this was more than just a stop. It was the beginning of something big or the end.
And up there, it used to house an Art Deco Fred Harvey restaurant when train stations weren't just a place to wait, but a destination themselves.
But time has not been kind to the station. It used to be twice as large as what you see today. The main station building was demolished in 1969, replaced with a cold mediocrity of an office building. The once vast and airy concourse was replaced with a smaller, more utilitarian one. Chicago lost part of its soul that day, and it's never really been quite the same. Still, Amtrak keeps it alive. With 3 million passengers a year, it's the second busiest station in the nation next to Penn Station in New York. There's talk of restoration, of rehabilitating the building to bring it back to what it's meant to be. Chicago's Union Station just isn't a place. It's a monument, it's a memorial, it's a time capsule of America's restless need to move. And today you can still be a part of that history.
And now we're headed to the Drake, a destination for travelers over decades.
How are you today? Going to the Drake. It's all for you, your boys. Thank you, sir. Is that your? I think we can get it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Last time we were here, we stayed at the Palmer House, but the Drake's more my speed. It's a bluesy place, Poppins. More gangsters stayed here than the other place. We are going to attend afternoon tea.
Okay.
Because I'm a bearded Viking of elegance.
Nice.
Yeah, you didn't know.
I love it. Right behind you to the right. Let me know if you need anything at all.
Excellent. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Oh my gosh, thanks.
You're welcome.
So I'm pretty excited about this because the reason we're here is tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We do afternoon tea.
What could be more British than a classic afternoon tea? Here's my quick guide to the etiquette so we can make sure you're eating elegantly.
It's very important to have proper etiquette.
Yes, quite.
We start with the sandwiches.
What a lot of people don't know about me is I'm actually a Viking of elegance, a Viking of charm, and a Viking of etiquette.
So the thing is, it's an hour and a half. And I bet Chuck could eat all those sandwiches in like... This is going to be quite different than eating from the Chuck box out of the back of the Jeep. I'll be doing the Darjeeling tea.
Poppins is the guest of honor. Wow. So afternoon tea is said to have originated in the 1840s by the Duchess of Bedford, Anna Russell, who felt a heavy feeling in the afternoon between lunch and dinner, and she requested bread, butter, and some tea to be brought to her chamber so that she could satisfy that heavy feeling. And later she started inviting people to join her for afternoon tea, and then hotels eventually got a hold of it. The first hotel in London, I think in the 1850s, started offering afternoon tea with the very typical 3-tier with savories and scones and then desserts on the top. And you should not get a dessert until everyone's finished their savory meal, so you're stealing someone's macaroon. But the guy said if I wanted more, just to ask, and he can put more on the plate. So.
That's a good plan. This is probably not the way to do it, but I love banana chips.
I have a purple cheeseburger. Excellent meal, and only cost half a month's worth of groceries to have little sandwiches. So if you're interested in a traditional afternoon tea, the Drake Hotel in Chicago, about 2 to 6 o'clock, they serve afternoon tea, and it's quite delightful. I'm the Viking of elegance, Chuck.
I'm chewing.
I'm the Viking of elegance, Chuck.
I'm Poppins.
The channel is the elegant, restless Viking. We'll talk to you soon.